The John, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I fucking love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, John, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Oh, back in your life. Sunday, March 27, 2022. My voice sounds terrible today, Ken Flo. It is episode 342 of the Anik and Florian podcast. Sunday, March 27th, 1:40 p.m. Eastern time. Ken Flo's out in California. We're not going to tell you what he's doing, obviously, because he's a close to the vest type of guy. But PFL Challenger Series for you Friday, and then metal tube to California. Is it good to be back out west, kid, or what?
It is. It was a long flight. I know you've been doing a lot of talking last night, so let's pace ourselves today.
All right, so a lot to get to. Obviously, it was a huge UFC fight night in Columbus, Ohio, and as an American, we talked about this a little bit on the program last week. Like, I was really hoping the crowd would bring it after what we saw in London, and I can't thank the Ohio fight fans enough. And I just think, big picture, it's a great fight town. It's a great sports town. Those fans were loud as hell, even though I could have done without some of the boos. So I have to acknowledge the Columbus crowd off the top. But let's get into the main event, man. I mean, Curtis Blaydes had a fucking agenda, and you could tell in the fighter meeting. And he said really for 3 or 4 fights now, like, y'all got to stop sleeping on my hands. Nobody gives me a modicum of credit for my boxing.
Yeah,
he was going to go in there and try to win a fight by knockout without attempting a singular takedown. And fuck if he didn't do it, Ken Flo.
Mission accomplished. Again, I think Curtis Blaydes is one of the more difficult guys to bet for or against, because there's certain nights like last night. Well, he looks like a world beater. He's light on his feet. He's accurate. Like, there's an educated jab. He's setting up his punches, his angles. Everything was looking really, really good. And then there's other times where, maybe he looks like he's not really connected in the fight. Yeah, he's a little aloof, or, maybe a little too stiff. He looked phenomenal last night. And again, a lot of people consider his wrestling game, his ground and pound, the best part of his game. And I think he's right. I think we kind of sleep on his striking skills. If he's able to put together a night like that, that's going to give him way more options and way more paths to victory. Because not only was he effective offensively, I'm not sure he really got hit with many shots.
Right.
1 or 2 maybe that I counted. Yeah. But I thought he looked phenomenal. It was a great win for him. Excited for that guy. And again, the confusion continues for me as to what Curtis Blaydes is all about and how he's going to compete on fight night. But it all connected for him last night.
And it's also hard because you don't know exactly what a guy's going through. I think he's going through some
Right.
sort of separation. He has moved to Colorado, which he thinks is obviously a great thing to just be there year round and training at altitude and all of that stuff. And just to clarify, he did not say in the fighter meeting that he wasn't going to attempt a takedown, but I sort of insinuated to him in the fighter meeting. I said, hey, man, like, if this is a kickboxing match, I'm not convinced you don't win this thing going away, with all due respect to Chris Daukaus. Like, shouldn't you be able to beat this guy in a kickboxing match? And he sort of said absolutely. So he said after the fact that, yes, the game plan was absolutely to go in there and not wrestle. And I saw Cody Donovan at the airport this morning, and I was on the phone, but he just screamed, no wrestling, So they're very happy, obviously, with this result. And Curtis is a really good guy, and I think he's responded well to adversity in the past. There's a Daukaus side of this that we will get to. But Ken Flo, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that Derek Lewis last December was a betting underdog against Chris Daukaus. Now, it doesn't matter if you picked him or somebody else picked him. That's not the point.
Right.
Curtis Blaydes closed a north of 5-1 underdog against Chris Daukaus, who not all that long ago was a full-time police officer, And, I'm encouraged by Daukaus insofar as I think he can still be relevant in the top 15 or so. But this is an appreciable setback. And it's just amazing to think that, a knockout of Shamil Abdurakhimov 3 months later can make you favored against a guy in Derek Lewis, who's the most decorated knockout artist in UFC history. I just think that Daukaus got fast-tracked a little bit too soon.
I think you're right on that. It's not always clear because, you get certain fights, you get certain wins, or you have certain losses for that matter, that can skew the perception of the fighter and what they're capable of, right? And as you mentioned, There's a lot of personal problems that happen. There are a lot of injuries that happen that we don't know about. And we look at a fighter's performance and we say they're done or they don't have it, or man, that 10-second knockout is crazy. This is going to be the new star, when in reality, we still don't know a whole lot about them. This was one of those fights for me, unfortunately, where for me, I think Chris Daukaus was downgraded, I think, a little bit because he couldn't find a way to really be effective. He seemed like he was just confused as to how to approach someone like Curtis Blaydes. And it is a problem because if you do go aggressively forward, not only are you susceptible to counter strikes or running into a jab in Curtis Blaydes, but also in moving forward, it allows them to hit a reactive takedown, which Curtis Blaydes is known for as well. So he was in a tough spot, and I could see it. He wasn't able to make the proper adjustments and was getting hit with hard shots before that knockout. And to me, it showed that he's not at the skill level to be elite just yet. Doesn't mean he won't be, but where he's at, I think we found out a lot about Chris Daukaus in this fight.
And for you and Michael Bisping and Daniel Cormier and Joe Rogan, you guys are paid to be analysts. You're paid to be critical. And Michael Bisping sometimes will say, I don't mean to be critical, when in actuality, we're not here to make friends. Now, for me, as a play-by-play guy, you'll see me at times be critical, but I try to do it in a soft way. And to that end, like, it's hard for me to criticize the Daukaus brothers. I do think the ceiling is higher for Kyle maybe than it is for Chris right now. But I like all these fighters so much that it's hard for me to crack a mic here on Sunday morning and be super critical of Chris Daukaus. But I do believe at times, like, his confidence sort of outweighed his skill set a little bit. I do believe frame-wise he could be a great light heavyweight. I do think that he's committed. I don't know if he is as all in as Kyle is in terms of his obsession 365 days a year. But do you think there is anything to Chris Daukaus pushing the reset button on his career right now, despite the fact that these are losses to truly elite guys, and maybe try to see if his body can, get down to 220 comfortably and go from there?
John, I think that's always a possibility, as skill set wise. And I also think it's a possibility for Chris, not that I know everything about his weight cutting process, but for me, looking from the outside in, I certainly think he can compete at 205 pounds and do extremely well in that division as well. But I do think there needs to be a little bit more of a different approach striking wise and how he integrates and puts everything together. Yeah, he's going to have to look into things and see how he can adjust and see if that move to 205 pounds makes sense. Now, that might take 6 months, 8 months, 12 months.
And my prediction is that he is not going to do that. And I think from a matchmaking standpoint, I'd like to see McMaynard be a little bit strategic with Chris Daukaus to try to sort of help build him back up. Because the Derek Lewis fight, it was just like, whoa, man, And then they gave him a huge opportunity to sort of right that wrong. And it is what it is. But obviously, this was the best version of Curtis Blaydes. I mean, these guys are just raving about the work that he has been putting in, and it certainly paid dividends. As we spin it forward, I can tell you John Jones is training really hard, and I think that there might be some news on the John Jones front at some point in time. John Jones and Stipe Miocic, to me, makes a whole lot of sense for an interim UFC heavyweight championship. I don't know if Ciryl Gane is going to get that opportunity immediately, the former interim champion. I think a Gane-Blaydes fight makes all the sense in the world. I said it immediately after Gane fought Francis Ngannou. And then, of course, that would leave Tom Aspinall and Tai Tuivasa. I mean, heavyweight's intriguing right now, Ken Flo, but what are your thoughts on Curtis Blaydes and who they might lock that octagon door behind him with next?
Yeah, listen, I think you said it. Ciryl Gane, Curtis Blaydes, I think is a fight that makes a lot of sense. Now, if I'm Curtis Blaydes, I'm kind of licking my chops here, given that we saw Gane on his back, and he seemed like he really didn't have the skills to be effective there. So Curtis Blaydes, I think, has the ability now, if he's able to put together his strikes and move his feet like he was in that fight against Daukaus, to be effective on the feet. And absolutely can be very effective if he's able to put Gane on his back. I think those are two real strong possibilities. Curtis Blaydes looked phenomenal. If this is a sign of things to come, I love that fight for him.
Yeah.
That said, Gane is also a master when he's at his best in determining the range that he wants to fight at. So that's a fight that makes sense. I don't think Gane should just go right in there for an interim belt at this stage.
Yeah.
I think Jones and Stipe makes more sense in my mind based on their pedigree and what they've accomplished in their career. They've been around a very long time. And I think you could absolutely sell a big fight between John Jones and Stipe.
Stipe might be bigger in Ohio than you are in Boston. I say that respectfully.
Dude.
I mean, he is huge there.
Yeah.
Like, he walked into the arena last night, and, you know, Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, was in the building last night. And by the way, shout out to Joe Burrow being there from the first prelim. I mean, he is all about it. But I was like, who just walked into the arena? And they're like, Stipe. And I'm like, man, he's even more popular around these parts than I thought. That dude has the entire state of Ohio eaten out of his hands. So very exciting to see. You know, when I think back to you and me calling his main event in Nottingham against Stipe Miocic, and now the dude's like an international sports Hall of Famer. It's crazy.
So cool.
All right. Heavyweight division in a good spot. And, you know, you got to feel good for Curtis Blaydes, too. I just have to say, you know, spending a lot of time around him. And, you know, as a professional athlete in fight sport, when you're charged with entertaining and you have a speech impediment, not that fucking easy, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you got to crack a mic. And I thought he did a great job with the post-fight interview, but it's hard. You know, you're constantly asked for sound bites and your brain and your mouth just don't want to fire. You know, I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like he was in a much better place mentally. He was excited to be there. It seems like he has a genuine passion for the sport, and he's been fighting for a long time, and he's experienced a lot of those ups and downs already throughout his career. And sometimes we see fighters who aren't able to deal with those ups and downs very well. Volatility can mess with a person's brain a lot. But for Curtis Blaydes, I think he believes in the process. He believes in himself. Seems like he's in a good place, and that was one of his best performances by far.
And you start producing knockouts like this, people won't mind seeing you fight Francis Ngannou a third time, even though you're 0-2 against him. I mean, huge weekend for Curtis Razor Blaydes. I will circle back to the co-main event, Alexa Grasso and Joanne Wood, but I want to talk to you about Bryan Barberena and Matt Brown. It goes to Barberena by split decision. It was the fight of the night. Certainly one of the more memorable fights that I've called over the last several years. I know you thought Matt Brown won the fight, as did a good segment of the fan base, of course, as did the assembled masses there in Columbus, Ohio. But what did you make of what was an absolute war, as we expected it to be, between Brown and Barberena?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, but it's brilliant matchmaking for both of those guys, where they're at in their career. Absolutely amazing fight. We saw a lot. You know, I'm always fascinated by Matt Brown, a guy who has been around forever. And those are the kind of guys that it can be hard to kind of teach them new tricks. Now, he's always had, I think, a versatile skill set from that clinch position, but he is getting better. He's getting more confident in what he's doing. And I'll put him up there, I'm telling you, with guys like Anderson Silva when it comes to being effective in the tie clinch, of combining knee-elbow combinations, something that many fighters do not do well, even at the highest levels in the UFC. Matt Brown is absolutely elite in that regard. His foot sweeps, his knees, and his elbows will always fire, because one of those things you're going to be vulnerable to one of those things. And Matt Brown knows how to set that up. You know, if you posture up and you try to protect yourself from elbows, you know, he's throwing knees to your body. If you're trying to protect yourself from knees, he's going upstairs with elbows again. If you're trying to protect both, he's foot sweeping your ass. It was just amazing. And Bryan Barberena, like Matt Brown, is one of the toughest individuals I have ever seen compete. Just when you think he's hurt and you're going to take him out, he fires a shot that hurts his opponent. It's just unbelievable. Both of their durability, their heart, their determination, their conditioning. So I was blown away by the fight. No one lost that fight. As you know, you hate to say that. That is absolutely the truth. I thought it was a brilliant performance from both men. It was an absolute classic. I'm happy for Matt Brown that he got a chance to have a legendary fight like that again in Ohio. But I guess we'll get into it. But I guess that's all I have to say about that. Bryan Barberena was landing huge shots. Matt Brown was landing huge shots. I thought Matt Brown had the better grappling exchanges, but this was a back and forth affair that I don't think was so easy to score, but I did have for Matt Brown. So that's what I have on that. I guess we can get into
Yeah,
more
I
of the
mean, it was
decision.
interesting, Kenny, to see the scorecards because the judge who did score the fight for Matt Brown gave him the third round. He didn't give him the second round, which I thought was interesting. But Matt Brown thought he had banked a couple rounds, as Mark Coleman did. The Hammer Mark Coleman came over to the broadcast booth immediately, and it's hard for us because, we got a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I thought it was a close fight. I guess ultimately for me, I did have it 2-1 for Barberena, but as I say every week, you can toss out my scorecard. I guess I take exception, and I love Matt Brown, but him saying that he felt like he got robbed. I think it's interesting in Columbus, Ohio, that there wasn't a little bit of a lean from a judge to Brown, and I'm glad there wasn't because you got to not factor that stuff in. But yeah, you just mentioned 3 words that I wrote down, like heart, determination, conditioning. Like I'm sitting there watching this fight and I'm thinking like in my inner monologue, like you fat fuck can't run a 6 mile on the treadmill and these guys are doing this, like seriously, if they're men, Kenny, like what am I? Like if they are men as a species, what am I exactly? Because they're different than I am. They're built different than I am.
Maybe not. But listen, I think that here's the other change for Matt Brown. Because Matt Brown sometimes, and we see it, you can call it pacing or whatever. But I think at any level, whether it's, nature, all right, or a fight, we're looking to be as efficient as possible. That to me is like the ultimate sign of a beautifully moving machine. Matt Brown, to me, seemed like he was the most efficient he's been in a very, very long time.
I agree.
The way he was grappling, he was leaning on, Barberena instead of squeezing and like wasting energy or freaking out. Like, I thought he showed more techniques, whereas Barberena might have been landing, like the shots that he did land were all heavy. They were all effective. And I think that, might have swung the judges the way of Barberena, and absolutely, there's no doubt about it. He was landing a lot of effective shots. But when I'm looking at the full picture, for me, and again, I know this isn't a criteria for judging a fight, but Matt Brown's overall mixed martial arts skill, I thought he showed a better display of that. It wasn't just overhand rights; it was knees, it was elbows, it was grappling, and some of those rounds were close striking wise, but I thought Matt Brown's attempts and his control with the grappling and his aggression moving forward was the difference in my mind. I had it the first 2 rounds for Matt Brown. I thought the grappling exchanges put him over the top. And the third round I clearly had for Barberena. So either way, amazing fight. I was thoroughly entertained, and I was happy for both those men who just continued to deliver exciting action.
Yeah, I think that's all fair, and you put it well. And when I hear you set it up like that, it kind of makes me lean a little bit that way when you think about the overall mixed martial arts skill set that was sort of put on display by Matt Brown there. I got a couple notes on both of these guys before we move on. So Bryan Barberena fought out his contract. He now wants to fight Robbie Lawler. He says he's going to retire if he doesn't get a new deal from the UFC. He tried to renegotiate with the UFC to get a new deal before this fight. And they kind of went dark on him. So obviously he'll fight anybody, anytime, maybe not anytime, needs a training camp, but he literally will fight anybody on the roster that you put on the contract, so that's a good guy to have in the welterweight division. He's going to entertain. I hope he gets a new contract. But just in terms of what he's doing in his life, right? He left Arizona, right? It's the Bam Fam farm in Tennessee, the Barberena family farm, and it's him and his wife, and the 3 kids are really leaned upon heavily on the farm. And I don't know if you heard us say this on the broadcast. I think we were in commercial, right? But if I went downstairs after this podcast and said to my daughters, hey guys, we want to sort of live a more sustainable life and, whatever it is, I can't put it well in terms of helping the environment. We're going to, because farming's like hard shit. My daughters would be like, Where's the dad store? I need a new dad. We're not doing any of that, you know, like, and I just have so much respect for Brian and his wife and the family, you know, and it makes me think about some of my parenting, right? Like my daughters would be like, no fucking way. I'm not going to dig a ditch. I'm not going to milk a cow. Like, fuck you, dad, you know? So I need to harden up my daughters a little bit, but you know, Barberena named one of his sons Chael. I mean, you got to love him. All right. On the Matt Brown side, if I may, unless you have anything on the Bam Fam farm that you.
No, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. We're just actually building gardens now in our backyard, so we're trying to start early. I think that's the key. Is we're having 100%. Our daughter kind of water stuff and help around, and then it kind of becomes like a normal life. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's crazy. A farm, there's always work to do. We don't have a farm. Yeah.
The Barberena family literally got in the car from Columbus, Ohio, and drove home to take care of the animals in Tennessee right after the fight.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So wow. Yeah, my daughters want a dog. They want a garden. They just don't want to take care of any of it. And I really hope my door is closed right now. Getting fucking blasted on the Anik Florian podcast. Love you, girls. All right, on the Matt Brown front, he's 41 years of age, and Matt Brown is very dismissive of age as a factor in any of this. And, I'm 43 years old, and it's harder, I think in terms of working out and, just your body and, my wrists are even getting bigger. Like I need to get my watches resized. There are just certain things that happen as you get older. So here's Matt Brown at 41 years old. I thought by and large, this was a sensational performance, but he wants a new 8-fight deal. He was talking a lot about a new 8-fight deal. He wants to fight until he's 50 and really was hoping that a win last night might have helped him work his way into the top 10 because he still has championship aspirations. And it is amazing what he has accomplished since he was 11-10 and on the back end of 3 straight losses in the UFC at 2010. We were filming MMA Live. We thought he got cut. He was 11-10.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that erroneous reporting back in the day. Hope you'll forgive us. But I just think that it's not that there's delusion, far be it from me to put anything past Matt Brown, but you can't just outlast the clock forever. And, the wars, I don't think are going to help him fight until he's 50, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, it certainly doesn't help. Matt Brown's amazing. How he was able to turn things around at that point in his career is something that really should be commended. And it's something that's very rare in the fight game in general, no matter it boxing, MMA, kickboxing. And that takes an insane amount of mental fortitude. He certainly has that. And I think believing in your age certainly has something to do with it. But the reality is how you feel and what your body has gone through will have an effect on you. I hope that for Matt Brown's sake that, he's doing a great job of securing his money and putting that away. I know he's into Bitcoin, which is freaking awesome. Yeah. But yeah, we can't fight forever, right? We just can't physically. But I know Matt's kind of a quiet guy, but I think there's other opportunities for him in the mixed martial arts game. I think, especially as a coach, I mean, that dude has an insane amount of experience and obviously knows what the hell he's doing as a fighter in a lot of aspects that I think he could help a lot of fighters out there as well. And I think his story would be amazing as far as a book. When you look at his personal where he's at now. But anyways, I love watching him fight, man. But I agree. You can't fight forever. I would hate for, him to get injured to the point where now he's forced to retire. It's always good, I think, when you see a fighter kind of go into his retirement on his terms.
It's tough. I mean, he's got a coffee company. He has his Immortal Martial Arts Center, but he's just so obsessed with martial arts and training. Hardest worker in the room. He doesn't want to do anything else, I get it. All right. A lot to unpack, and no better man to unpack it with than the ageless Raymond Longo. Let's get to the Ray Longo Minute.
It's now time for the Ray Longo Minute.
I want you to punch a hole in his fucking chest. That's what I want.
The Ray Longo Minute. Starring Ray Longo. The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow, do you look good in Houston with the red shirt. Man. Tell your wife that's a good color on you, Ray.
I just had breakfast with Danny Rubenstein. I tried to get him to come on.
Hey, Rubes.
He wants nothing to do with you. I don't know why that is.
He said he just saw you. The joint in Columbus, Ohio about 8 hours ago.
Yeah, I do. You're amazing. That's
Well,
not easy, right? I mean, you just
no, I'm hurting, and
No, you're hurt, yeah.
we were burning it deep into the night drinking Jameson there in Columbus, Ohio. So I
damn.
am.
So you even worse. You were drinking, and your
Yeah,
flight got delayed. And
I'm hurt
this
for
is
certain.
amazing.
I did some candlepin bowling actually in Columbus, Ohio. Ken Flo reminded me of
Nice.
fairway bowling on Route 9
In
in
Natick, Route 9.
Massachusetts growing up.
Yeah.
That's
I
probably
went to
lost
many a
on
birthday party there,
Yeah.
John.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably lost on our fan base. Ray, it's good to see you, man. Houston, Texas, huh?
Yeah. We got Nazim Sadikov tonight in the co-main event, UFC Fight Pass. Let's fucking get behind this kid. He's going to have a great night tonight, and he looks great. So expect to see a lot of him.
And he's managed by Danny Rube. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you get a haircut, or did you just look particularly good today?
No, I got a haircut, but thanks for noticing, John. I appreciate that. I combed it. That's
I'm
funny,
pretty
man.
obsessed with men's hair. If people haven't
But
noticed,
I heard you talk about Matt Brown, man. I mean, at 41, to fight that type of fight is absolutely insane. But man, if there was ever a time for a goddamn home field advantage or whatever, that was it. I would have had no problem with that. No,
I was just saying.
Come on,
Like,
man.
I thought this is going to be the situation if you're a judge where you're like, you know what? But the problem is the third round clearly wasn't his. You know,
Ray,
And yet
Ray,
one of the
Ray,
judges
how
gave
did you
it to him
score?
anyway.
Ray, how did you score that fight? Did you see?
Well,
you saw it?
I had to listen. I just went through this. We were just talking about it. There's certain fights when you want somebody to win, you just start looking at every angle. That's the
Right.
problem, and I feel like
Right.
that's why I could never be a judge, because I couldn't be fair. I'm always going to lean towards the guy, and then you start coming up with shit. So I thought for him being in Ohio, the way he fought,
Right.
I don't give a shit. I'm giving that fight to him. You know what I mean?
Well,
But I
one
thought
of
it
the
was close
judges,
up. Yeah.
the judge who scored it for Brown, I think adopted that philosophy because he had it 1-1 through 2. And he gave Brown the third round because he's probably like, fuck it, man.
That's it, man. If there's any time, let's get the crowd going crazy.
Yeah.
But Barberena did a great job, and he finished really strong. And I think that was a huge part of what you saw. The last part of what you saw was an exhausted Matt Brown, but still pushing, man.
It's
I
amazing.
mean, just a great story with Coleman screaming his lungs out in the corner. I mean, it was
the best.
Yeah.
It was great, man. It was great. So if there's ever a time for that, I'm 100% behind it. That was the time.
I don't know how much you heard of what we were saying, but the ability to push through the wall for Matt Brown, obviously he can lean on the conditioning, but for me, as the guy who works out 6 or 7 days a week, like I can't, I wish like this would inspire me to be better. Like I just can't relate to just the mental and physical toughness. I was truly in awe watching Matt Brown in particular, like how he just pushed through every fucking wall.
No, really, really impressive. And it was, I don't think it gets any more entertaining than that fight. And I'm blown away by his age. I'm putting everything into the conversation. That's just that 41 to get into a wall like that is nuts. You know what I mean? It's not like you could relax on the wrestling maybe still, or like Henderson had that one bomb that if he hit you, anybody was going down. So he was always in the fight, no matter what. But this was a grueling, taxing fight against a younger guy, and who's very durable. So it was. I thought it was the fans got what they wanted. I hope they take care of him. I really do. He deserves it.
I agree. So we were talking about Curtis Blaydes off the top of the show, and in our fighter meeting, I said to him, like, if this is a kickboxing match, how do you handicap it? I didn't know at that time that he wasn't going to attempt a singular takedown, but kind of thought if this was just a striking matchup under the Glory Kickboxing banner that Curtis Blaydes beats Chris Daukaus in that setting. What were your thoughts on Blaydes' approach and the fact that he didn't attempt a single takedown and still got the biggest knockout of his career?
Well, I think, it was funny because I think everybody probably thought he was going to get that fight to the floor. He makes it pretty clear that that's what he wants to do, and he doesn't care what anybody thinks, right? But I think his corner probably told him in between, let's go after the guy, let's do it. And I think that's probably what he did. A lot of respect on both ends, right? I think you got to give the first round to Daukaus just on inactivity of Blaydes, maybe, but he came out and he made sure that wasn't going to happen. I think, as much as I was pulling for Daukaus because he's an East Coast guy, it was a great win for Blaydes coming off, a knockout loss to the other guy. So that's why I say in the first round, I'm like, man, is he apprehensive because of what happened to him the last fight, or does he really respect, Daukaus's striking? So maybe a combination of both.
Daukaus won the first round, huh?
Well, what happened in the first round? There was nothing happening.
No, I think Curtis bloodied up Daukaus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Perhaps
I think
Cody
I think it was one punch. I think he hit him with.
Yeah, it wasn't a ton of volume, but
there was definitely not a volume. I don't know who. I don't know who to give it to, but I'm just saying it was very inactive.
So I just wanted to get your thoughts on Chris Daukaus real quick before we move on. Right, goes from 4-0 as a UFC heavyweight, and then favored against Derek Lewis last December, to now 4-2 and on the back end of 2 just vicious knockout losses. So you're Chris Daukaus's head coach, Will Martinez. Are you pushing the reset button, trying to see if physically he can get himself down to light heavyweight? What are you doing with Chris Daukaus right now? Because he left his career as a police officer, went all in on MMA, and now all of a sudden, just 4 months after being undefeated in the UFC, you can argue he's in a must-win situation his next time out.
Yeah, no, he's in a really tough spot right now. It's funny. I was on the bus with him. I forget where the hell we were, but I was like, we were talking about being a police officer in Philly, and there were, what was going on, and they were all the changes, and defund the police type of crap. And I was like, man, never lose that job, because I know on Long Island it's a home run. I mean, the benefits are crazy, the pension is crazy, the money is crazy. So I was like, man, if you could do both, it's like
Stipe.
It's like found money. You don't, when you don't have to make money, it's easy to make money, right? So I don't even think, I think he quit a month after I talked to him. I go, I guess that conversation. No, I swear to God, it's I read a month later, he just retired. Yeah. But, I was like, holy crap, I guess I'm good at what I do, because he didn't listen to me. But I always like those jobs, the teachers and stuff like that. Yeah. They get set up. I think in the long run, they end up better than a lot of other people that don't have, even an entrepreneur who's making money but doesn't invest it right or whatever, something like that. These guys are steady Eddie. And after 25 years, 20 years, they're set, man. They got a nice income coming in. And I thought that's the way to go for him. I thought, he was doing great. He was winning. And it seemed like a good combo. So where do you go with him? Yeah, you got to hit the reset button and look for the right type of fights to get his confidence back, and to, let him, work on new things without being under extreme amount of pressure. But unfortunately, in the UFC, it doesn't work like that. He's going to get another tough fight, and he's going to have to dig down deep. I think he's gritty as hell, and I think he could do it. But look, Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes are the top of the top. No doubt. But now we see Derek Lewis even having problems, right? Yeah. But he's always going to have that ability to get you out of there with one punch. So,
true. I will say, Daukaus came to right away on the stool. He was right back, and he was in a really good place mentally on the shuttle to the airport this morning. I mean, that's one of the harder navigations for me, right? With losing coaches and fighters on the bus the morning after, and
100%.
He was in a really good place, and I think. If I speculate, I would say he's in a much better place now after going through the Derek Lewis experience. It's all right, I'm just going to dust myself off and do this again. I think he'll be able to come out of this one a little bit quicker than the last one. Couple other performances I want to highlight before we talk about Aljamain Sterling. You getting anxious for April 9th or what?
Oh, yeah, loving it.
So are you and Danny Rube? Danny Rube manages Petr Yan. I mean, you guys are obviously on different sides of the Aljamain Sterling Petr Yan. I mean, Danny Rube, that dude will talk some shit too. I mean, how are you guys sort of mingling in Houston when in 2 weeks you're going to be rivals?
So look, I have no idea he was Petr Yan's manager, and we're talking, and he's telling me, the ref blew the call, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, the knee was never meant to be illegal. Like, how the fuck do you know that? Look, I have no idea, and I'm like, wow, this is. Somebody's bringing up another point. I'm like, 10 minutes goes by and he starts talking about he's booking Petr Yan's flight. I go, wait a minute. I go, are you Yan's manager? I couldn't stop laughing. I go, this is great. I go, I never even knew that. I'm like, wow, he was making a case for that illegal knee. And I'm like, I never heard anybody say this before. That's really fucking, I do. It was hysterical. When I found out, I had no idea. And I was like, well, it's definitely a different way of looking at it. But But we had fun, and look, that's the beauty of being on opposite sides. You could argue, and then you have breakfast with each other, and that's the way it should be. Instead of what you see, everybody, the divisiveness even in this country, right? Nobody
Right.
get along, but have the argument, go out and have lunch, man. That's it. Yeah. It's end of story. It's the way it should be.
How much more time do you have today?
No, I'm good.
All right. So Alexa Grasso, real quickly, in the co-main event against Joanne Wood, masterful performance. She's focused a lot on her wrestling and her jiu-jitsu, as we said on the broadcast. First career submission win. Found the right weight class. Kenny and I called some of her early fights, if memory serves. Maybe not. I think her debut happened just after Ken Flo left. But so much has been expected of this woman, and she's just worked so hard, and it's all coming together, and I'm just really happy for her. And I know there's a Joanne Wood side to this, but Ray, I just want to get your thoughts on Grasso and her chops now as a UFC women's flyweight contender.
Look, she's got everything it takes, right? She's got the looks, she's got the talent. I think her boxing is spot on.
She is hot. She's hot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh boy, I tell you.
Well, you led with the looks.
Well, but I mean, look at her personality, man. She's a sweetie,
You led with her looks, though.
Yeah. All right, but you don't have to be like a creepy old guy. Creepy. Holy shit! I mean, she's got the look.
Jeez,
Kenny, she's got the look, and I hear this. Oh shit, man!
John doesn't get out much,
Holy shit! Poor Chrissy. My condolences.
I'm telling you. Yeah, she's gonna go to the husband's store.
But anyways, I think she's man, she's looking great to me. She looks really good, and she's she's always learning. And last night I was talking to TJ on extra rounds, if anybody gives a shit. But
we don't.
But Mizuki fought her in Invicta. And
that's right.
And he said it was a great fight. I didn't really remember it, but she's really come a long way based even on that. So
yeah,
she's in the right spot, right where she wants to be.
And of course, she's one of the few women at 125 pounds that has yet to face Valentina Shevchenko, and she's perfect in the weight class. So certainly big things ahead for Alexa Grasso. And Brandon Moreno obviously was the first to break through for Mexico, but she is just so proud of her Mexican heritage and being a homegrown fighter that if she could break through, it would just be absolutely enormous. Not unlike Moreno, I think, in terms of her star power, finances, and everything else.
She's on her way. And look, both of them have their personalities are just really unbelievable, right? There's just, you can't dislike either of them. Like Moreno, just they're nice people that fight, would fight with heart and balls and just, it's great, man. I'm happy for both of them.
That's my favorite word to hear Ray say. The way New Yorkers say balls.
Yeah, Moreno especially fights with balls, I find.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Joanne Wood, perhaps the submission defense left a little bit.
But you never know these days, right, Ray?
Yeah, right. Who knows? I identify as a kangaroo right now.
Yeah, if you go to Ray Longo MMA on Instagram, that is exactly what you see. The kangaroo emoji. So Wood's submission defense left a little bit to be desired. I just didn't think she was urgent at all in terms of fighting the hands. And, she was supposed to fight Valentina for the title at UFC 250, one of the rare instances in which Valentina had to pull out due to injury. And now it's 3 straight losses for Joanne Wood. And, I think she's a little bit conflicted because she loves her stepson Maverick so dearly. She wants to be a mother, and she still works hard. She's still, as Ken Flo says, like a nasty prick on fight night. Like the mean streak's still there. The desire is still there. But I think at this point, the title contention goes away with 3 straight losses. I don't know how many more times we see Joe.
And think about that. That's got to stink. You're right there for a title shot, which could be life-changing.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and, she is she seems like another sweetheart. And that it stinks. But, yeah, she was very close, and now she probably couldn't be further away. So mentally, who knows how that's playing on it, too.
All right, Ken Flo, I know I've been wrong probably more than I've been right, but I could not understand why Kai Kara-France was a near plus 400 underdog against Oscar Oskarov. And as much as I love Oskarov, and again, everybody, when I would say that during fight week about Kai, they're like, dude, you just don't know how good Askar is, right? Everybody who has seen him in the gym just absolutely fucking raves. But Kai's just a dog, Kenny, and... you're not going to outcondition him, and he's very well coached. And, Eugene Behrman was not in his corner for the Garbrandt fight. He's a very calming influence for him. Your thoughts on Kara-France potentially taking Oskarov's number 2 ranking, Kenny?
KKF is a G.
Dude.
Okay, he's a
No,
G.
without a doubt.
He loves to fight too. Like there was a point where Askarov, after the first round, kind of like sunned him, like pushed him out,
Yeah.
and it was an
Yep.
Askarov round. And I was like, interesting. Let's see how he responds. And dude, he pepped up. He basically said in his mind, it looked like he was like, I know everything that he can do to me. That was everything that this guy has. I'm going to make the proper adjustments, and I'm going to beat him up. And that's exactly what he did. He made the adjustments. He kept him on the outside. There was, one time where he did get his back taken. He did the little hula hoop escape, got on top, and stuck to the game plan. And you just see, he loved to be there that night. Even when he was in the tough spots, he loved to be there. He stayed present. He was firing back. And I had the feeling that things were starting to shift and we're going to go Kai Kara-France's way. And absolutely, he did that. And this was, and maybe this was why the odds were so much in favor of Askarov, was this is a terrible matchup for him. This was a terrible matchup for him. And we saw a little bit of why that was the case. But this is a different KKF. This guy is really tough. Watch out for that guy in that division, because not only are his skills coming together, it's probably coming together because of what's going on in here. In his head, he believes in the process. He believes in himself. And when those things come together mentally, physically, spiritually, technically, watch out for that dude. And that dude right now is Kai Kara-France.
Yeah, 100% agree. What a beautiful fight. Just a beautiful fight. And for reasons Kenny said, man, he gave him a shove at the end of the round. He had to have that guy on his back for 5 minutes. Yeah. And, man, he just you cut out, John.
I think you're cut out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
ahead.
Somebody was suggesting that maybe Oscar pushed him off because Kai was like raking his eyes. I didn't see any of that, but it seemed like some people were suggesting that maybe there was something that Askarov took exception to, and that's why the shove happened.
I mean,
neither here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know, but he still shouldn't have shoved him. Yeah. And I'm just so happy that Kai came back and just pushed those next 2 rounds and unequivocally won that fight. I think Danny was saying at breakfast that was split. Like, people thought Askarov won. I had that fight 150% for Kai Kara-France. So he had the momentum, and I thought he did a great job in that. And you're right. He took the best that guy had to offer, and then he came back and he wobbled him a couple of times. And to Askarov's, credit too, he shook it off and he came back. But what a great fight for that kid. He definitely 100% deserves a title shot. I don't think there's anybody that wouldn't want to see him fight Moreno or the other guy. I think he earned it with that shot. I'm sure they would have given Askarov a title fight off of that.
Kai was so effective that he was forcing Askarov to stand up and trade with him. Now, Askarov isn't, he's not, he wasn't shy there, but he certainly had the advantage there. He was way more technical as a striker than Askarov was. Askarov hits hard, but you could see Askarov was very frustrated and was forced into Kai's game. And so I think that's kind of what made it so beautiful. The adjustment from the first round to where he was at the last round, it was just a masterpiece.
Yeah, if you don't know.
Great. Yeah, sorry.
Askarov is 80% deaf and just a tremendous individual for all of his perseverance. He had a pretty invasive wrist surgery, so he was out for a year, so perhaps that was a factor. But yeah, Kai Kara-France is the total package, right? Like, tuned in enough to do the OHIO on the microphone. He can promote a fight. He has a crowd-pleasing style. He's got the look, right? He's an attractive man, right? Yeah. If I can say that, Raymond, Total package.
He's on a freaking roll every which way possible. He's right where he wants to be, and I think he's got a lot of support behind him now. Look, I'm a huge, based on even that fight, I'm a big fan of Kai Kara-France. I think I just like everything about him, his attitude, the way he handles himself in the octagon, on the microphone. It seems like a great kid, and he's got a great future in front of him, man.
So in 2014, if you would have told me that Neil Magny would one day tie George St. Pierre for the UFC welterweight wins record, I would have probably said, hey, if Magny ties GSP, I'll get the Canadian flag tattooed on my forehead. 19 wins. He started 0-2 in the UFC, Kenny. I mean, Magny getting it done. Now, I happen to think Max Griffin had banked a couple of rounds, but I guess that's neither here nor there. It was a close fight. Split decisions for Neil Magny. Ray, you got any thoughts on that?
I mean, I would have probably. Well, I like Neil Magny, but I probably would have given the fight to Griffin. I thought he won the first 2 rounds, but the other guy was coming back towards the end of the second round, so maybe that's what shaded it a little bit. But
it's got to really sting for Max, right? Instead of waking up Sunday as the number 9 ranked welterweight in the world, you may not get another shot at a ranked guy.
Yeah, he had such a good first round too. It looked like it was just going all his way.
Kind of gassed a little bit. But.
Yeah, I think Magny's he's a dog, and he does what he always does. He's steady Eddie, he's consistent, keeps putting the pressure on you. And yeah, I mean, so it was, I think, a little bit of a tough fight to score, but either way was good. But I thought they were going to give that to Griffin for sure. But if you would have told, I would have been with you. I would have never thought he'd accomplish what he's accomplished.
Amazing.
So power to him. Yeah.
All right. Before we let you go, couple notes on your guys, and we wish you all the best there with Nas and everybody else in Houston, Texas tonight. But Chris Weidman starting to move a little bit. I saw him throw a kick in training with the broken leg, albeit softly. By the way, Tom Lane was there with Bryan Barberena in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, was Lane with him? Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's working hard. Saw him in the sauna.
Nice.
But anything on Weidman? That's pretty encouraging. It's crazy to think that was almost a year ago, 11 months.
Yeah, no, it's coming up. Yeah. And it was Jacksonville too, so I hope there's not a curse in Jacksonville. But I haven't really talked to. I talked to him briefly last week. I don't even know if I spoke to him or I was texting with him. Yeah. No, I think I spoke to him, but he didn't. We really didn't talk about training, so I really don't know. You guys know more than me. I don't follow anything on anybody's story or anything like that, so I have no clue.
So you have no idea that my minivan got totaled last week?
No idea.
All right. Yeah, all right.
I heard something. No, you guys were talking about something.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine.
I saw comments, I think, that
that's my bruise. Is it still
sorry,
there?
man. Are you okay, buddy?
No, I'm okay. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate.
How much damage? How much damage on the car?
Totaled. They gave us $24,000.
Wow.
So that was a big paid off. Yeah. Problem is, get a new one. It's fucking 50. So I lose 26 G's on the exchange, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Last thing, of course, you know what it is. Sterling. This fucking guy, man. Sterling, Aljamain. Cody, I don't know if you can get me a betting line. I'd imagine he's a pretty big underdog against Petr Yan. But these are the final days, counting it down. What do you have for us on Aljo before we let you fly, my brother?
I'm going to say the sparring I saw on Thursday night, if that Aljo shows up, he's winning the fight. How's that? Is that good enough for you?
Great.
That guy is point on right now, mentally and physically. And, there's still the bewitching 2 weeks, but as of right now, couldn't look better.
Yeah. Mentally, he's
totally
locked in. So
different fight.
Yeah. He's a plus 350 underdog right now, so perhaps that's juicy to
that's going to close. I bet you that closes a lot towards the fight.
All right.
Probably up to like 490, but who knows?
Maybe we do a little Anik Longo side wager on this.
Wow.
I don't know. Just for fun.
That was your guy, Aljo.
Still my guy. I'm just trying to have fun with you.
Oh my God, poor, because a guy loses a fight or wins a fight, but people come on.
It's just for the show.
Oh, okay.
For the show.
So we're doing a side wager.
We'll just do a bet for something silly. No tattoos. Not going to make you shave your head.
Right. But we still got other business to do when I see you in Jacksonville.
Now you're scaring me like my bookie. Kent, are you muted, buddy? Kent, I want to hear what you have to say.
Can we talk about Ray Longo's gold rollie, by the way? Can we talk about that thing? Gee, I need sunglasses. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
See, so for those that say we're not giving him any money for the T-shirt, that all is just T-shirt money, guys, okay? So just look at, look at that thing.
You know what I call that? I call that Matt Serra versus Matt Hughes. That's what
is it really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I love it.
I think he fought. I think that he fought him on my 50th birthday, I think, and I was down in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's
what I did.
Real one. Heirloom item, my friend. Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. Rolexes just continue to go up in value. Speaking of which, actually going down in value, right? I'm walking out of the arena, and some fan asks me to sign his Rolex, and I'm like,
really?
With a permanent mark, you really want me to do this? Right? The inside of it, right? Like, so I get a message on Instagram this morning. He's like, hey man, thanks for signing my my Rolex. I was a little bit browned out. You know, I don't know if he was regretting the decision. But I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I'm not Joe Rogan. You know, like, what are we doing here, man? Like, this is going to depreciate significantly, but all right, I'll sign it.
I mean, that guy's got to now sell a watch with your name on it.
No, or he and his wife spent all day trying to get with a magic eraser my signature off of the Rolex.
Yeah.
So good.
All right, Ray. Great day, better evening. Wish you all the best. You flying home tomorrow morning, I assume?
Tomorrow morning. I'm out of here.
All right.
It's a little
Let's
crazy.
Go, Nas. Let's go.
Yeah,
Nas.
let's go, Nas. Nas is going to have a UFC Fight Pass, Fury Championships. Be there. Watch
We'll
it.
be watching.
Kenny, watch the fight tonight.
I will.
And I guess the silver lining is, pardon the voice crack, the silver lining, though, is that if Nas loses, at least he's one of Danny Rube's guys, you know? So, not all. You know.
Holy crow. The Petr Yan thing was priceless this morning.
Crazy.
No
you guys
clue.
don't need to
I was like, wow. I'm sitting there going, wow, I've never heard anybody come up with this shit before.
If he was sneaky, he'd be asking you things about Aljo. So how's Aljo's training? What's he doing? What's it?
I hope he didn't. I might have. I don't even know. I was totally
we got double agents everywhere, Ray. Watch out.
Unreal.
All right. Well, don't spend too much time with Rube. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you next Sunday, my man.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Ray. Good luck,
Take care. All right, bye.
What a guy. What a guy. The Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. I quickly want to shout out a few other performances, and then we're going to bring on our guy, Brian Petrie. Not to make predictions, but just to see how he what he felt about the Columbus show, because he was in the building last night, and I got to meet him for the first time. But Chris Gutierrez performance bonus for a spinning back fist knockout. I was surprised, Kenny, only the 9th knockout in UFC history stemming from a spinning back fist. I thought it was more than that, but really feel good for him to get that bonus and the signature win. Aliaskhab Khizriev, a real problem at middleweight. Looks like he's going to move down to welterweight. Manon Fior with a big win over Jennifer Maia, and Mateusz Nicolau as well with a big win at flyweight over David Dvorak. He ends his 16-fight winning streak. And also Mark Casey. Fucking man. I mean, that's exactly how you need to approach that fight. And I thought he really passed the test in a big way. All right, let us bring on our guy, Brian Petrie from the MMA Takes podcast.
Hey!
I had to see your face today, brother.
What's going on?
How you doing?
Dude, is that an Adidas equipment sweatshirt?
It is, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
it is,
nice,
bud.
nice.
It is,
right.
bud. I almost ran and got my Fossil watch, but I didn't want to embarrass Ray with his fucking Rolex. Jesus.
So, how tall are you?
6'2".
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Right?
But my head is like a 9, so my head is giant. So I saw the comments. People were like, "Dude, how fucking tall?" I was like, "Well, I was on a platform, but my head's fucking enormous." So yeah.
Well, it was great to see you. And, you know, on a more serious note, we really appreciate everything you brought to the show. I mean, it is so clear that you have been watching the sport so closely since you were a very young man. And obviously it translates to our audience. And you just have a great ability to communicate it with comedy. And so it was nice to be able to shake your hand last night. And we thank you for your contributions, which we know will continue on the show. But overall, just thoughts on being in the building last night. You know, I have a whole newfound respect for Ohio sports fans, you know, just in terms of the volume. But what were your thoughts on being in the building last night?
Great. We showed out. I mean, Ohio showed out. I mean, I'm from Cincinnati, but Columbus is only an hour and a half up the road. OHIO. I mean, listen, Kai Car France might want to buy a house in Ohio. That dude is royalty now. I only heard a couple punch him in the faces and then kick his ass Seabass, which is from like 94. Let's get some new bits, guys. Get some new material. But the section I was in, everyone was like pretty hardcore. They're pretty good seats, and no one really kind of acted up or anything. It was pretty nice, you know. And I thought we were loud. My buddy texted me and said, "Dude, Ohio, well, you sound electric." I mean, I don't know if we're London, but I mean, listen, we're, you know, Columbus is Ohio State. That we brought it out, and I met a lot of people from Cleveland. So people from Cleveland drove down. I drove up. So it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. It was fucking love being there.
I didn't realize quite how popular Stipe was around those parts. I thought I knew. I mean, you would have thought that. I mean, who's the most glorified Ohio athlete of all time? Because you would have thought that fucking guy walked in.
Sure. I mean, right now, Joe Burrow, who was there that you met, and he walked right by. I was like, "Holy shit, is that Joe Burrow?" I didn't yell at any fighter all night. I just clapped. Joe Burrow walked down. I'm like, "Little girl, Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow." He threw me a deuce. Yeah, I mean, listen, Burrow right now. I mean, you probably got, Eddie George probably brings house down from Ohio State back in the day. But fighter wise, I mean, Rich H. Franklin was the man for a while. I mean, Matt Brown got a huge pop, but Stipe's fun. And he, Cody Garbrandt moved away. He reps Cali now. Stipe's like, I'm a fireman. I live in, Independence, Ohio, right by Cleveland. I'm not going anywhere. And we love him for it. Yeah. And he was sitting there fucking drinking, slamming beers, doing the OHs in the middle of fights. Like he loved it. Yeah.
Jim Brown, LeBron James, a couple of other Ohio athletes. I would say for Kai Kara-France, though, if he is going to buy real estate in Ohio, got to figure out who Joe Burrow is pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. But listen, I told my buddy, I get it. I get 100%. I get my buddy's like, this fucking guy doesn't know who Joe Burrow is, my buddy. All my friends are collegiate soccer players, so they don't watch MMA. I'm like, listen, he's from New Zealand. It's rugby over there. That's their football. Of course he's not going to know who this guy is. But props to Kara-France. He looked great. I actually scored it. No one shoot me for Askarov, but that's just because I had him. I thought he won the third round. I thought Kai threw a lot in the third round. I just didn't think he did much, but I'm glad Kai won because he's the bigger promotional star, in my opinion, more pleasing fight. He's only lost 2 goddamn fights in the UFC. Brandon Moreno in a wild scrap of Revolve. Myself, John was trying to sway us there last week when we were picking our fights, Kenny, and we both were like, nah, we know what we're doing. Johnny's the sharp. I gotta stop disrespecting Kai Kara-France because he's really good.
Well, and I think that said a lot.
Yeah, I think there was a time where I thought his ceiling was maybe lower than I think it is now, but he's just getting better mentally, physically.
What I noticed,
confidence.
I saw you guys talking about the one thing I noticed I love is that rough first round, right? And it was a slick back take by Asker, but he stayed so fucking calm. I mean, that kid, that Asker's death on the back, and he stayed calm. Was like, I've been here before. I'm good. After the second round, the little shove, he shook his head. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is about to start turning right here. This is gonna be good. My wife was all into it. It was great.
It's great. So if Ilir Latifi had lost to Alexei Oleinik, the fight did not happen. Ilir Latifi woke up with a stomach bug. But if Alexei Oleinik was able to spring the upset, you were gonna have to shave your head. Is that right?
I'll put a big old right here. Wife's got clippers. I was ready to do it.
All right,
I'll throw a hat on for a week. I don't care.
Right, well, just let your wife know that they could rebook that one in short order. So that might resurface.
It's on until the fight happens. I'll tell you that right there.
All right, brother. 2 more things before we let you fly, and we appreciate you stepping up today. Barberena, Matt Brown, did you have a scorecard on that fight? And what were your thoughts on Brown?
So in the building, it was very loud, and I picked Barberena, obviously, but I only had the bet fight not going to decision, so I didn't pick money line on that. But in the picks we did, I thought Matt Brown won. I did. The third round was rough on him, but I thought he did enough in the first 2. But a lot of my buddies back at home were texting me like, dude, I think Barberena got that. I'm like, man, maybe the crowd swayed me or something. I thought Brown did enough. The third round was the toughest round, but it was the funnest round. I mean, those guys were fucking going, gassing and just throwing. I loved it. I mean, it's not the most technical, but I saw Bisping jump up and clap. It was fun. But I did have Matt Brown winning that fight. I thought he did enough. He landed 5 takedowns. He was mixing up really well. I mean, he was taking shots, but he's also giving shots. It was very, very competitive fight. But I did think Matt Brown won enough rounds to do that. 2-1, 29-28 easy on my part.
Man. What a fight. Like, I don't even know how to call the round. Really, I don't want to listen back.
It was sick.
All right. Last thing, BP, before we let you get back to the family. Curtis Blaydes over Chris Daukaus in the main event. Just want a few thoughts on both guys, right? Because this is an appreciable setback for Chris Daukaus and a monumentally enormous win by knockout for Curtis Blaydes. Your thoughts?
So I love the approach Curtis Blaydes took in this. He blew me away, right? His boxing looked really good. He's not the fastest guy, but his counters and timing were just on point, and that's what he needs to do. And he said it perfectly in his post-fight. People expect me to wrestle, so that slows him down and lets me strike a little bit. He's a big fucking guy. He can obviously hit hard. Daukaus, he walked right by me, and I'm a big, thick guy, and I'm looking at this dude like, this is a heavyweight? Like, I feel like he's a little, like, I know he's 6'3", but I'm like, a little bit of belly weight or whatever. He's 240-ish or whatever. I don't know how big of a cut that is, but I don't write him off. I know a lot of MMA fans are going to be so negative. This guy's doing. I'm not doing it. I think he's an elite guy. It was a competitive first round. I gave it to Blaydes. Second round, though, I thought his corner probably, I haven't heard it back yet. His corner probably told him, like, let's open up a little more. He's not wanting to wrestle. Let's open up a little more. And he opened up, and Curtis Blaydes landed the right hand. I think Curtis Blaydes is, again, a guy I disrespect just because of the inconsistency I see sometimes. But he's only lost 2 people, right? He's beaten everyone, and he's a legit dude. And if he keeps learning these skills and comes in shape like he does, he's a fucking issue. I like the call out too. I like the Stipe call out. Very respectable. He didn't go crazy because he got fucking booed because they were booing a little bit. And then I like the interim because Francis is out, for 9 months with the knee surgery. You got to have someone in there. I think Tom Aspinall's gonna be thrown around. Obviously, he called out Gone, but Curtis Blaydes blew me away. I thought he would lose the striking match, and he won devastatingly. So that's impressive.
Prevailing wisdom seems to be that interim championship is going to come down to Stipe and either John Jones or Curtis Blaydes. Cyril Gane is probably not going to be in that mix, but I think Blaydes, he's either getting Gane or Stipe. I just feel like Stipe's holding out for Johnny Bones, but we shall see. Right. And last thing I'll just say, like when we asked the Blaydes camp about Chris Dawkins, to your point, one of the first things they said was like, he's small. Like he's really small for a heavyweight,
Yeah, he did.
All right. Well, great to have you with us for a few minutes at MMA Takes Podcast. If you want to follow Brian Petrie, and why would you not now? But thank you, brother, for everything. And
thank you.
We will talk to you in the not too distant future.
Awesome. I'll see you guys. Good meeting you, John. Thanks, guys. See you.
All right. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Brian Petrie with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. I would like to see Cody Merrow before we get on out of here. Sean Strickland's going to fight Alex Pereira. Is that right? At middleweight?
Yes, he is. July 30th, the UFC 277.
So Sean Strickland doesn't turn down opponents, because he's on the short list of guys you could put in a title fight right now. And instead he's fighting a guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't even have a number next to his name, Cody.
Not as it stands now. Things will change. That'll be
that's going to be a banger. But here's the thing. I know Sean is a savage, but we may see him grapple in this one. That's what he should do. He should try anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
Cody, anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, a couple points here with the MERRROW seconds, a little duality of words there. So Izzy Cannonier isn't booked yet, so an update at middleweight. So that's the direction everything is trending. Irene Aldana is out at UFC 273. Sources say Rocky Pennington is in against Aspen Ladd. I think that's actually a better fight, a winnable fight for Rocky. I think she's 9th in the rankings. Casey O'Neill versus Jessica Eye slated for UFC 276. So moving a prospect along there.
God loves women's MMA, this producer, huh? Jesus. You got anything on the men?
No, we're all about it. We're all about
totally kidding. Everybody
the next one is about 2 of the Smash Bros. I don't know if you guys seen Hamzat and Till's content lately, but they went in and trashed a Target like the other day, like just two dudes being boys, like 2 boys being dudes, like just interesting stuff on their social media. And last but not least, UFC fan, future MVP candidate, 30 for 30 perennial player. Welcome to Boston, Trevor Story.
Oh,
that's what I gotta say.
So, and again, thank you, Cody. Sometimes, and while the majority of our listenership is in the United States, we do have a huge portion of our listeners who are international. And when we talk about the Boston Red Sox or Joe Burrow, they don't know what we're saying. But Trevor Story, who the Red Sox just gave $140 million, is a huge UFC fan. And so it's sort of unique being an announcer for the UFC because so many of these high profile professional athletes are rabid UFC fans. So Trevor Story signs with the Red Sox. I go to his Instagram page and it says follow back. I'm like, this dude's following me, and then I'm able to have a conversation with the guy who just signed with the baseball team that just dominated my formative years. So very excited to get my Trevor Story jersey, and that will put a bow on that. One other thing before we go. To the fans in the United Kingdom, we obviously have so much appreciation for you listening to the show, watching the show, all that you brought to the table in London. But I heard from a few fans, and can you imagine what these fans have to do every week to pull all-nighters to watch these fights?
Oh, my God.
And I don't know if there's anything that we can do to affect change because a lot of these fights are going to be primetime in the U.S. But if you're a UFC fan in the United Kingdom, you're staying up all night like 41 times a year. And as someone who does that regularly, like it's hell on your body. So you all have my respect. I just wanted to say.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm looking at a car myself, John, and the sales manager is from Scotland, and he's he's talking about how he grew up watching UFC, and that was one of the things he talked about. He'd have to stay up to like 5 a.m. with his friends, and you're drinking. He's like, you can't stay up, but that's commitment, dude. That's awesome.
It's really hard. Like a 2 a.m. start time for the main card. Like if you have children, I mean, I guess maybe you nap or something. I don't know. But again, I know sometimes for American fight fans, we have some, cards in the middle of the night. But I just think for the Europeans who watch this sport at all hours of the night, I just wanted to shout you guys all out. All right. Thank you to everybody for watching, for listening. Don't forget AnikFlorianPodcast.com for everything you need to know about the show. If you want to buy this t-shirt where Kenflo just looks so goddamn tough, you can
Handsome,
do that.
Gentlemen.
Promo code AF10. One more sleep merchandise at millions.co. And we are back with you next week as we get you ready for UFC 273. We thank Ray Longo and Brian Petrie, our executive producer, Cody Merrow. For Anik Florian, I'm John Anik. We will talk to you shortly. UFC Fight Night's in the books. Jacksonville, your move. Yo, fucking later.